Are you a salesperson or a real estate agent? Or are you both? If you believe you are both of them, which one comes first? The salesperson or the real estate agent? Something to think about. Welcome to Mindset and Attitude to Selling. How to become more than a real estate agent. Before I dig into the topic, I want to share an analogy with you so you understand where I'm going with this. And once you understand this fundamental, what I'm going to share with you, I believe personally, it would change the way you go about being a real estate agent. Okay, so here's the example and the analogy. For those of you who watch sports, you'll understand this. If you are a college player, whether it's basketball or football, and you're one of the top 5 draft choices, or even the top 20, what typically happens is you get a lot of sports agents, depending on what number you're being drafted, you get quite a few sports agents trying to get you or get the athlete to sign on with the sports agent, right? Before the sports agent becomes the athlete's agent, what is the first job of the sports agent? They have to sell who they are, what their value is, and why that athlete should sign on with this agent, right? Does that make sense? But first, they had to sell their value and show their value and offer their value and give the athlete their value before the athlete decides which agent they're going to choose, right? No different with a seller or a buyer in the real estate industry, right? So let's think about this. When you are a real estate agent, you need to understand what that means. For me, just to keep it simple, an agent means like a limited power of attorney. Because you're dealing with contracts and things like that, you have to make sure you don't get sued or the seller doesn't get sued or whatever the case may be. You are an agent. That's when the agent comes in. But the process to getting the listing and or the buyer broker's agreement, you have to be a salesperson first. Does that make sense? I want you to think about it. Before I go deeper into this topic, if you see some value in this video, you receive some value so far in this video, do me a favor, smash the like button, share your comments, hit the subscription button below, and I thank you for doing that. Now, there are about 4 or 5 different skills or valuable things that a salesperson does before they transition to a real estate agent, or what I call passing the baton. So as a real estate agent, you are typically wearing 2 hats in my experience. The salesperson is first, and then it transitions to the real estate agent. So what is the number one thing and the most important thing and valuable thing that the salesperson does in the beginning of the selling process, whether it's a seller or a buyer? The number one thing is they know how to engage them. And engagement means setting the tone for the selling process with the seller and or buyer, and setting the tone for how the relationship is going to go. That is the most valuable and important thing you need to learn and to do in the initial stages of the conversation. Must do that. Once you do that and you have the seller engaged and or the buyer engaged, now it's showtime. Now your real skills as a salesperson has to be shown, has to be delivered, has to be perfect. The second thing that a salesperson does is they know and understand how to use their weapons. What do I mean by weapons? I'm glad you asked that question. The weapons that top salespeople do or have or know how to use is rebuttals. Training real estate agents and speaking with many agents the past year and a half to 2 years, one of the things they lack is the ability and knowing and understanding and having rebuttals in their repertoire, meaning their sales presentation or their selling process. So you salesperson knows how to use rebuttals. And those are his weapons. Does that make sense? So rebuttals really is where the sale is either lost or won. Whether the relationship is solidified or lost. Why? Because there's three components to a rebuttal. Number one, it diffuses the objection, whatever it may be. Number two, it increases your value as a salesperson and real estate agent. And number three, it transitions automatically into a storytelling. Which leads me to number three. A salesperson, a dynamic salesperson, not only understands the prospect or the seller and the seller's mindset and what the seller really needs to hear and know, but they understand the buyer as well. They understand the ability of telling very effective and powerful stories that the seller needs to hear and the buyer needs to hear and know. Because whether you like it or not, everything we do every day involves a story. Whether you're telling a story or you're receiving a story, that's what we do every single day. That's what leads to memories. So number three, a salesperson knows how to tell a story or stories. What is number four? Number four, I call it TAP, T.A.P. T.A.P. This is when the salesperson transitions to a closer. And what the TAP means is the salesperson understands transitions throughout the whole selling process, from the minute they say hello to the time they get the listing or the contract. From the opening of the phone call or the contact to the body, which means the storytelling, to the closing, the end of the movie. They understand transitions because it's throughout the whole selling process. The A is for adjustments or adjusting, meaning you have to learn to adjust to the prospect, the seller, or the buyer's mindset and attitude, how they give you an objection, how they ask you questions, what their attitude is towards you, and how you handle that. And how do you do the adjustments? With rebuttals. And these are basic fundamentals that are not being taught in the real estate industry. Not being taught by the real estate agents, broker owners. Just from my experience, I don't know everything, but this is what I do know. And this is what I've learned speaking with many real estate agents nationwide and speaking with well over 2,000 for sale by owners nationwide. So the salesperson knows how to do TAP. And what is the P? The P is to push. Now, push may sound like a very offensive thing to do. But pushing means it all depends on your tonality, how you say it. You could be assertive and know how to push in a calm tonality, which a prospect may need to hear. So you have to adjust to your audience or who your prospect is, their personality, their demeanor. But if you give it everything you have as a salesperson, and you've given them the value, and you know that you can help them sell their property, then don't be afraid to close. Don't be afraid to push when you need to. The seller wants you to do that. They may not tell you that, but they're thinking that. Because guess what? All leaders and all business owners and all sellers want to deal with someone that is strong and knows how to get the job done. And that means you have to learn how to push. You could be aggressive, assertive, depends on the prospect. But pushing is basically leading the seller to the path in the relationship. Someone has to follow, someone has to lead, right? So you have to learn how to push. That's what a closer does in the selling process. What is number 5 that the salesperson does? They know how to negotiate a commission. They know how to get a valuable commission. They know how to get, instead of 6%, they know how to get 8%. They know how to get the marketing costs up front in the selling process. Well, how? If you know how to give value up front, and you know how to show it, and you know how to get the seller to feel it and visualize it, that value has to be worth more than whatever commission you will negotiate. Whatever that, everybody's different. Every individual asks for different commission percentage. I teach my agents, clients, to go for 8% and get the marketing costs. And it could be done. And it gets done. So that's what the salesperson knows how to do. These are the 5 important steps, and I call them ingredients and skills that the salesperson knows how to do before they transition to the real estate agent. Now, once you do those 5 things and you're about to get the contract, right? Now you transition to the real estate agent. A real estate agent is like a power of attorney, a limited power of attorney. Once you get the contract, or before you get the contract, you're about to get this contract, what you do is you start to ask discovery questions. Square footage, bedrooms, bathroom, if there's any additions you need to know about, how much financing they have outstanding, do they own it free and clear, are they willing to carry paper, right? How much money they looking to make in the deal, are they going to lose money in the deal? All those things are part of the agent. The agent does the walkthrough, right? And then they agree to the listing price, right? And then the agent, talks about, staging the home. What's the strategy on it? How are you going to get by? The agent does the marketing to put it out there, not only MLS, but also on other social sites, right? That's what the agent does. The agent has to make sure that contractually everything is going well for the seller and or the buyer. From the buyer perspective, they need to have a good experience. They need to know that you, the agent, knows how to get the right price at the right time, right financing if you're helping them with the financing. Have a good experience buying a property. But all of that starts with the salesperson. They set the tone. And I'll share personal experience with you. There were times I was cold calling for a client and I was getting them a lot of appointments. Real sellers. I set the tone with them. I'm not an agent, so I'm just getting paid to set up appointments. And most of those appointments weren't closed. Or they were canceled because the agent didn't do anything. But the real reason is because they wanted to do business with me. Why? Because I set the tone with them. And I passed them off to somebody because I'm not an agent. I wasn't an agent at the time. Does that make sense? So at the end of the day, learn to become a salesperson. That's what you got to learn to do. And what does a salesperson do overall? They solve sales problems, period. That's what I do. I solve sales problems, whether it's a seller or buyer, no matter what the industry is. I solve sales problems. That's all the prospect needs to know. And by saying that, they know exactly what I do. And the next question they do ask me is, how do I do it? The same thing could happen to you who are watching this video or listening to the podcast. If you sell right, without embellishing, without bullshitting people, and selling real value, you are the value, you're the commodity. When you go to ask for the contract and the commission, if you do it right, instead of them telling you what they're going to pay you, chances are they'll ask you, how much do you charge? That's a buying question. That's what you want them to ask you, because they don't want to insult you with the 2% or 3%. Does that make sense? Anyway, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you found any value or you received any value from this video and all the podcasts, do me a favor. Hit the subscription button below. Support the channel. It's for free. Smash the like button. That definitely helps the algorithm to push this video out to other people. And also, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think in the comment so that I can learn and grow as well. I'm open to listening to other people's opinions as long as it's constructive and not antagonistic or anything like that, because that doesn't help anybody. Does that make sense? Well, listen, guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate you. And remember this, guys. Learn to become a dynamic salesperson. Accept that you are a salesperson first and foremost. When you can accept that, you will become a much more powerful, effective real estate agent. And if you do that, watch your value increase exponentially. Watch your listing and valuable listings increase. And then watch your commissions absolutely explode. Talk to you later. Have a very successful and prosperous day.